start recording. So let me go ahead and share my slide. And let me drag the charts to this place so that in case there are, no, I need to drag the charts, okay. In case there are questions that I need to see, I'm able to see that right away. So yeah, what is today about? First of all, I'd like to just, introduce myself for those who are like new or don't know much about me. I think you know my name, but if you don't, my name is Oluwatoyin Yetunde Sanisa. I'm based in the UK. My background so far, my bachelor's was in computer science, and I had my postgraduate degree in AI and robotics. My career journey so far has been, after my bachelor's, I worked as a support engineer, and then I worked at Andela for about 4 years as a software engineer. And after the 4 years, I decided to switch from being, I was bored of software engineering. So I did that for like 5 years. My major stack as a software engineer was JavaScript and Ruby on Rails. And after like, that 4 years, I just got bored of, software engineering, and I wanted to try something new. I get bored easily. So that's one of, I don't know if it is a weird fact or random fact, but I easily get bored. I like when things change. So I just knew that I was already tired of software engineering and I wanted to go into something new. So I decided to jump into AI because I've always had, that flair for AI. And then that was what made me leave Nigeria at that point, because I did my master's degree in Italy. So I did my master's degree in AI and robotics, as I said earlier. And then after my master's degree, I came to the UK as a research assistant with a university in the UK. Actually, I was like an exchange student from Italy to the UK, and I worked with a particular professor in the UK for my master's dissertation. And after the dissertation, he decided to retain me to work with him for like a year. After a year, he wanted me to do a PhD with him, but the PhD life is not something that I was ready to embrace at that time. So I was like, nah, I'm not interested. So I left the academic and then I came to the industry. And now I work as a data scientist at a beauty tech company. And side hustle is for data gigs. That's one of my side hustle. My other side also is I teach. I have like private coding classes for people across different. I teach kids basically. I also teach professionals. So an example of a professional could be someone who is a data analyst but use Excel at work, but they want to pick up Python classes, or like just know how to use Python to do their data analysis. So I help people upgrade their skills and do like private coding classes for that. And I also teach kids as well. What other side also? I'm also a lead data science instructor at Code First Girls, which is an organization here in the UK that is trying to get more people to get into the tech industry. So so why did I decide to, I've naturally love to help people, and that has come from me really struggling at the beginning stage of my career. So one thing I want you to know is that it may look like, when we go into the meat and potatoes of this workshop, it may look like, probably I look like, I sound like an Albert Einstein kind of person, or one of those people that have won Nobel Prize in science and things like that. But I just wanted to know that I would say like I've really, let me say, I've put in the work to be able to like be in this position. I used to run away from programming, even though my bachelor's was in computer science. I thought like coding was for those Albert Einstein, like those people that are smart. When you watch those movies and they're typing on their computer, looking so badass and things like that. So it was looking like that, when I was going to say, should I go into coding or not, programming or not. But I came into it and I saw that everyone can actually learn how to code. I always say I don't care how dumb you are. Like you might be the last in your class when you're in secondary school. You I don't care. Anyone can really learn how to code. So if anyone has made it look like something that is far-fetched, or made it look like, it's the smart people, the people that wear glasses. Actually, I don't used to wear glasses. It was when I started sitting in front of the computer for too long that I started to use glasses. So it's not, I'm not one of those students that maybe from 5 years they're already wearing glasses. They are the EFICOs. So EFICO for non-Nigerians, like the smart people. Yeah. There's that thing that people that wear glasses are very, so anyone can really learn how to code. And because I really struggled at the beginning stage of my career, like it was very tough. It was very, very hard. When I joined Andela, during my first 3 months, I was put on probation because I was not meeting up. So it's that same girl that will be teaching you something today. So it has been a long journey, and it just shows that when you put effort into things, you really can get your hands pretty, on anything, and you can learn anything. So I just want to share that story, and it's why I do things like this, because yeah, I don't like when people struggle, because for me, I'm like, this thing is actually not hard. Don't let anybody make it look hard for you. So I don't like when people are struggling with stuff, because it doesn't just make sense to me, because I'm like, yeah, it's really not a big deal to know this thing. You can actually know it as long as you have a good teacher and a good mentor to guide you. So that's that about me and my story. So the agenda for today, like I said, I've talked about myself. Rule of thumb, we'll go into that. So we're going to be talking. So let me give a disclaimer. If you've never written Python code at all, you've never taken any class on Python, you've never done anything related to, you're just hearing Python for the first time, you may be lost in this class. So let me give that disclaimer. So I'm not saying leave, I'm not saying go away, but you may be lost in this class. Things may be different. And what I'm saying so is like, see it as not knowing how to speak. Let's say you not speak English and you are watching a movie, and the movie is in Spanish or something, and they are speaking Spanish, you'll be lost because you don't understand the language, you don't understand the syntax, right? So it's the same way. So if you are very, very new, such that you've not taken any course on Python at all, this class may not work for you, because I'm not teaching Python in this class. So I just want to give that disclaimer. I believe that you've gone through the flyer and you know what we are here for. But in case you don't know, we are not here to teach. I'm not teaching Python. I've done that in the past. Like, if you need my classes where I've taught Python, let me know. I'm happy to share that. But that's not what today. I'm not teaching Python. What I'm teaching today is, you've learned Python. You've gone through a course. You already know the syntax, but you don't even know how to apply what you've learned to real application. So you're wondering, how do you move from I've learned this course to actually building stuff, to actually solving problems? Yes, if that is where you are, this class is for you. And I struggled with that at the beginning stage of my career. I did courses on Code Academy, what's the name of that other one that no longer exists? I did some online courses, but when I go to like HackerRank or Code Wars or all of it, when I see a problem, I didn't know if I should use if, or if I should use while, or if I should use a list, or what should I use here? I don't know how to think through the problems. I didn't know how you could build your logic muscle. That's what I like to call it. I don't know how you could build your logic muscle and apply the syntax. So it's like when you start learning a new language, they start from maybe nouns, pronouns, and then from there, they teach you like adjective, prepositions, and all the figure of speech and things like that, and from there, when you want to make a sentence, you start, you don't know how you can combine, okay, is it now I'll say first, or how do I say she, how do I, you get what I mean? So that is what this class is about. You know the syntax, but you don't know how to put things together when you are in a scenario where you need to build problems. So when you need to build solutions to problems. So that's the disclaimer, because I don't want to give wrong expectations. So if your expectation is I'm here to learn Python, no, that's not what we are here for. But you can stay. I believe you will still enjoy the class, I promise you. But I just want to set that record straight. So I'll go into the rule of thumb of how you can build your logic muscle. Let's call it the logic muscle, and then we'll go into case study. So we'll have practical class. I like to make my class as interactive as possible so that everyone have a good time together. And then if there are questions, I'm happy to take them. So, okay, I've done the introduction about myself. So I just want to also say this. My code of conduct when teaching is that if I explain something and you don't understand, it's my fault. Yeah, I don't like to brag, but I think I'm really good at teaching. It's something that I passionately do. I've taught even I've taught people from I've taught kids. Like one of my youngest students is 6 or 7 in Japan, and this guy has gone from, it takes my class 5 a.m. in the morning Japan time because of my, the time zone that I am. And this guy has gone beyond just taking my courses to actually participate in hackathons and winning hackathons. So it's not brag, but when it comes to teaching, how to code and things related to what I know, unless I don't know that thing, I think I really do a good job in breaking things down. I will use the silliest exam. I can use your slippers to explain a coding concept to you. I can use your house to explain a code. So that's literally how I try to teach. So hopefully I don't over promise and under deliver. Hopefully I deliver what I've said I'll deliver. But if you don't understand anything during the course of this class, don't be shy. If you don't want to send it to the general group, just send it to me privately. I'm going to see it on my Zoom chat. So it's my fault if you don't understand. So feel free to always ask me questions. And at the end of this class, like I said, you will learn how to break problems into smaller steps. You will get insight to making the best use of Python, especially if you're a beginner. And then we'll walk through, a few exercises. And I believe that after these exercises, it will build your confidence to know that how to apply your, Python syntax to problems. Are there any questions so far? I'm assuming no. So we'll go ahead. So what is the rule to, build, become a better problem solver? So let's just use the chat. Please, is there a recording? Why are you asking? Are you asking there's a recording so that you will leave the class? You will leave us alone. You will not come back at your own time. Is that why you're asking? If not, stay in the class. Okay, no, it's being recorded, don't worry. But I want you to stay in the class, okay? Don't go away and say I'll come back to watch the recording to refresh. All right, awesome, no problem. Temita, you've never used Python before. Like I said, this class is not for people who have never used Python before. This class is to help those who have taken a course in Python, but they want to know how to move from just taking courses to actually applying their knowledge from those courses. But please feel free to stay, Temita, don't go. You may learn 1 or 2 things here, to be honest. And if your question is about, can I take an online, like, is there a way to get started? Yes, we shared a link in the group for you to start, free resource to learn Python programming. So that's why I say you can stay here, and I'll share that link once again in the group, and you can begin your Python, once you're done with that, course or something, yeah, with the free course, you can always come back to this video. But yeah, feel free to stay. So I just want to get a view of those who have done a Python course before. So if you have done an online Python course before, please just put the number 0 in the chat box. Please just do me that favor. If you've done a Python course before, it may be a long time ago. Okay, thank you to those who are doing that. In any capacity, you may have not finished. Just put 0 in the chat box. Sorry, please give me a moment. I can see, there are a few people who have. If you haven't, like I said, still feel free to stay. It shouldn't be much of a problem, but let's just go on. So how do you become a better problem solver? How do you move from, one of the things that let me just say that there is no problem that's, I don't think there is really a problem that you can't automate, if I'll put it that way. It's just about breaking things into smaller steps. So what are the rules to really become a better problem solver? The number one thing is to break it into steps. What do I mean by this? Think of any challenge before you even think of applying the Python syntax to any problem. Break it into steps like you don't even know how to code. That's like the simple, and I'm going to give an instance. So an instance could be, if I want to move from, so let's say I'm in London. Let's use Lagos as an example. So let's say I live in Ayobo, or okay, let's say I live in Ikeja, for instance, and I want to go to let's say I want to go to Yaba, from Ikeja to Yaba. How would I go about? And I want to go for, I don't want to use a taxi or something. I want to like maybe take public transport. So the first thing I'll ask myself is there a direct bus that goes from Ikeja to Yaba? Like, is there any direct bus? If there is one, that means that, I can just take a bus to Yaba. That's it. That's the problem. So the problem is I'm in Ikeja, get me to Yaba. The solution is, okay, there is a bus directly from Ikeja to Yaba, and I take the bus. Now, there may be conditions, right? Let's say there are complexities that we are adding to this. So the next thing is that, do I have the money to actually get me to take that bus from Ikeja to Yaba? So, I mean, it could be as simple as, okay, I ask myself, okay, how much is Ikeja to Yaba? Is, maybe, I don't know how much now. Let's say 500 naira. So there's the extra condition on top of it. Do I actually have 500 naira? If I have it, yes, I can go. So it means that I have two conditions, like to get from Ikeja to Yaba. The first condition is that, there's a direct bus and I have the transport fare for that direct bus. Simple. That's it. That's all I need to do. So there may be cases, okay, there's no direct bus, but I can probably take, from Ikeja to, let's say, maybe Maryland, and then from Maryland to Yaba. So I have to take two buses. How much are the bus fares, and how much can I really get it? How much can I afford based on what I have in my pockets? It's the same thing when it comes to like any problem. I think one of the mistakes that beginners do is that once you see the problem, you're just thinking about which side, you dive into the programming part, but that's not really how it works. You first of all want to do as if you don't even know how to program, and you want to think of it as, how do I really move from here to here? What are the steps that I need to do to move from this location to this location, or to be in this position and to get to that particular output? So that's one of the things that you do. You break it into simpler problems. So we are going to do this, like I said, practical session, but just note this down, that you must be able to break whatever problem it is into simpler steps, and taking the programming out of it. Like, take the programming out of it. That is as simple as that. And then you dry run your step. So one of the things that I learned during my beginning stage, and God bless, the person that was mentoring at that time, was to dry run my code. What that means is that you don't even need to type your code into the computer before you know if it will work or not. You can literally go through each of the line, understand what it's doing, and just by looking at it, you don't have to run the code. You know exactly what the output of that code is. You should know if there's even an error in that code. How does this come to life? So in some cases, right, when we have like teams, people coming together in a team to learn, to build a project and stuff like that, you may have someone who is like the engineering manager, or the senior team lead, and they are reviewing your code, right? When you are submitting your code to them, they are not going to sit down on their computer and now set up the code and then try to run the code if it works. As a senior, in whatever capacity that you are, in a tech team, in an engineering team, you should be able to look at the code that the person has submitted and know if there are errors in it. And that is if you are not even able to break things into smaller steps without the syntax, that would be a challenge for you, because every time someone sends their code review to you, like, oh, review this code and let's merge it together and things like that, you don't even know how, you don't know if there are errors in that code. And if you want to be a sound developer, a sound programmer, you should be able to look at a code and actually know what the output of the code is. It's about understanding the syntax. It's like when you read English language, when you read it, just, just looking at it and reading it, you understand what is being said. You don't have to like think twice about, the is this one a pronoun or a noun or something, because the syntax lives on the inside, like it's part of you already. So by default, when you look at it, you understand. So it's the same thing when it comes to programming. Now, the second thing is that you cross-check syntax with these steps. Coming back to the example of moving from Ikeja to Yaba, for some of you those of you that have taken the Python course, you will hear me mention the word if, for instance. So I'm in Ikeja and I'm moving to Yaba, and I want to know how I can get to Yaba. So it means that I know that I need a bus. So this one does not mean programming. I just know that to get here, I need a bus. My voice is low. Okay, is that happening for other people? Someone just said, my voice is, oh, okay. Maybe I should not use my headset. Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Okay. Actually, my headset was really low. It's okay. Chris is, okay, who said, okay, Balogun, Boluwatife, and Taufikat. Is it still low or is it better? My voice is loud and clear. It's okay. It's fine for me. Please try to increase your volume on Zoom and make sure that you have the speaker session toggled on. So I've increased the volume on my headset. So actually it was in the middle, but now I've taken it to the highest. So hopefully that would solve the problem. So as I was saying, cross-check the syntax with the steps. So like I mentioned, I'm going from Ikeja to Yaba. And as I was saying, there are some conditions that needs to be checked before I can actually make that move. So by default, you should know that if statement, let's say I'm going to write a silly code to actually get me from Ikeja to Yaba, it means that I have conditional statements. And when you were taking your Python class, remember, one of the subtopic that you would have come across, or topic that you would have come across, is conditional statement. They would have shown you the if statement. So it means that if I'm going to do a dry run without writing Python at all, I know I'm going to say, if there is a direct bus from Ikeja to Yaba, take bus. But that's not the only condition, right? I need to make it two conditions. And so I'm going to say, if there are direct bus from Ikeja to Yaba, and the amount I have in my hand, or the cash that I have in my hand, is greater or equal to 500 naira, then I can go. That's really where you now. So I've already, before this, I didn't talk about if statement. I just said it's like casually, like, oh, it means that I must have this money. It means that. So, but then I now think about, okay, in Python syntax, like if I want to do something that has to do with conditional checks, what do I'm hearing. Mercy, can you please let me mute? I can see that there's someone that is joining that is not muted. Please, as you join, please kindly mute so it doesn't, distract me. Mercy, can you please look into, I'm seeing someone that is not muted. Let me see if I can mute the person myself. Yeah. Okay, let's just go now. I won't let that distract me. So as I was saying, so you cross-check which of the syntax can I, can really match with these things, these logical steps that or these things that I've listed, in terms of, if there are conditions in getting me from my goal, from goal 0 to goal 10, or from this point to this point, like, so that means that I need the conditional syntax in this scenario. So that is really how you start thinking about problems. You don't just jump into the, okay, Python, that's it. It's like saying, if I'm writing a program, for instance, that should remind me that I should take my umbrella, right? If it is raining, I know that, oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. Guys, please give me a minute. I actually did make you a co-host. Probably you left and there you go. I think I've been able to do that. Um, yeah, I've been able to do that. So as I was saying earlier, you don't just jump into the Python syntax. You think about it without even pretending like you don't even know any coding. You don't even know how to code at all. And from there, when you are sure that okay, this flow that I've written it works, it means like the example I gave. I need the bus from Ikeja to Yaba. The bus is available and I have the transport fare for that bus. Yeah, those are the steps. There's no programming needed. But if now I'm bringing the syntax of Python to it, I know that there are conditionals that will make me get to that goal. And then I think about, oh, I've done, so I mean, you should have done the Python. So this is where you need the Python course that you have taken. You know that, okay, the if statement is conditional, so I can use it here. So the example that I was trying to give before, the interruption was, if I want to write a program that should remind me to carry an umbrella every morning if it is raining, there's a conditional check there, right? It means that every morning I need to check the weather reports, and based on the weather reports, I want to know if I want to get a reminder, or I want my alarm or something to tell me that I should pick up my umbrella. So it means that there's a conditional statement and the if statement is that. So I know there are still, there's the loop, there's the data structure and all of that, but those are just, the foundation we need to, we'll still climb up from there. Okay, so as I said, um, the syntax is really important, and then you are able to then map each step that you have done without the syntax to the right syntax. So I think I've even explained that one already. So this is an example of what it looks like in terms of like a cheat code. We call this like a flow chart. So a flow chart is basically um, things that represent inputs. If you are receiving something as an input, or if you are making a decision. So this, what's this shape called again? It belongs to the, oh my goodness, it just skips my head. Oh Lord. This particular, I know I can call this a rectangle. I can't remember, I'm sorry. Let's just call it a kite. I can't remember, I skipped my head. But anyway, let's say, we call this the decision. And the decision is more like, oh, asking a question, while the diamond, rhombus. Okay, I don't know if it's okay. Diamond. Okay, yeah. Let's call it a diamond. Thank you. So let's call it a diamond. So if we are going to bring this decision to the ones that the example of moving from Ikeja to Yaba, for instance. So the decision can be something like, do I have the transport fare? No. So if I don't have it, I cannot go. So the no can still lead to, okay, go to my neighbor house or call my friend so that they can give me money, right? But yes, if I have, so in this case is a decision, oh, I have the transport fare. Yes, I have. So I can say, then take the bus, something like that. And this can be nested, as we can still do some other decision under this one, like take the bus. Is the bus even available? Yes, it's available. Okay, I can really take the bus, right? Because I have the money. If the bus is not available, no, okay. Maybe the other option is I check, or find some other means, or I book an Uber. So it's the same way. And like I mentioned, if you are making a decision, this looks like it's a check. Like for example, do I have the transport fare? It's a check, it's conditional. So definitely this maps to an if statement, for instance, right? So this is where things start making sense. And like I mentioned here, don't run your syntax as a pseudocode. So what I mean, like I mentioned earlier, is for a sound engineer, you should really be able to go through your code, not run it, and be able to tell the output. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in that. There are sometimes I see some Python quiz or something, and I feel like I had the right answer, but by the time I run the code, I see that, oh, I made a mistake. Maybe something is missing, or I've misinterpreted how a line of code to work. So we are still like, it's a work in progress, where you look at something and you basically know what the output should be. You don't have to run the code to actually know the output. And the skills that helps you do that is, the more you are able to like go through problems, break it into the logic without, bringing the programming, and then taking the logic and looking at the syntax. Okay, what syntax actually applies to this particular logic? And like I said, don't be afraid to refine. As time goes on, you may see that, oh, I made a mistake in, how I've broken down the steps. Maybe in my own case, for example, probably I didn't remember that, oh, I need to actually check that I have money. Maybe I have not included. I just checked that is there bus available. With time, you may say, oh, I'm supposed to actually do this check before I go into, saying is can I take, like, I can take the bus. Maybe I've not input all the conditions that need to be satisfied. And so based on this, we're going to, if you've heard about the FISBOs before, I just want to see, what this audience looks like. So if you've heard about FISBOs before, please put the number 1 on the chat. I don't know if it's FISBOs or FISBOs, or anyway, I'm not the owner of English, so FISBOs. You understand what I mean? 1, okay. I have 2. Nice, awesome, well done, Hesbon. Wrote the code today. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. Olu, I don't know what your 0 is for. What my question is that if you have heard of FISBOs before, FISBOs, put number 1 in the chat. So number 1. Because I see you put 0, so I don't know what your 0 means. One. Okay, I have just 3 people who have heard about FISBOs. Okay, that's fine. 1. Okay, 4 people. I have another 1. Although I got that as a direct message. Okay, 4 people. 5. Okay, 4. Still 4. All right. So what is FISBOs? That was my very first task. when I went into programming. This was my very first exercise. Like, it was the first exercise they gave me at Andela. Then I had wicked trainers, but they did good for me because their mainness helped me to, like, upskill myself. So FISBOs is a classic programming task, and is usually used now. People don't use it. Don't let me say people don't use it as an interview. Mercy, please help me mute team. Thank you. Don't let me say people don't use it as an interview question, because back then, that was 2015, it was actually an interview question, but things have upgraded. I don't think, although I had a friend last year or this year, no, last year, she told me that, she went for a programming, an interview, and they were giving her FISBOs. I was like, what's happening? How can they be giving you FISBOs for your interview question? Because it was for a senior role. So it was very ridiculous to hear that companies are still giving FISBOs as a programming task. But as back then, this, I'm talking about 2015, thereabouts. This was like the reigning program. If you don't know FISBOs, you cannot know any other thing. So today we are going to, like, practice what I've mentioned. And the task is this. With FISBOs, the rules of FISBOs is by the the right side of these slides. It is that you are given a number, and if the number is divisible by 3, you are going to print FIS. If the number is divisible by 5, you should print BOOS. If the number is divisible by both 3 and 5, you have to print FISBOS instead of the number. For all other numbers, just simply print the number itself. So it means that for any number that is not divisible by 3, is not divisible by 5, is not divisible by 3 and 5, then just print the number that I've put into the program. So to get started with this is where the logic starts coming, like thinking through problems. So let me ask, what numbers are divisible by 3? Just put as many numbers that you know that are divisible by 3 in the chat. So when I say divisible by 3, in case it's confusing, it means that when I take a number and divide it by 3, there's no remainder. There's no remainder. The remainder is 0. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 6, yeah, 3, 6, 9, 21, yeah. Okay, 30, yeah, 12, yeah. Okay, awesome. 3, 15, 12. Is there anyone who does not understand how we are generating this number? If you don't understand, put 0 in the chat box. I'll be looking out for that so that I can explain. So that you will not be wondering, where are these people generating numbers from? Put 0. Don't be shy. You can send it to me privately. So if you don't understand how people have generated, like how they have come up with these numbers, just send 0 to me. So, okay, let's go to the next one. Which number is divisible by 5? Give examples. Now we've moved to 5. Okay, yeah, 5 itself is divisible by 5. Yeah, 5. Give me more than 5 now. 10, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Multiples of 5 will be divisible by 5. Yes, awesome. Awesome. We are scholars. Okay, so the last one is, what are the numbers that are divisible by both 3 and 5? Everybody says 15. They just say 5 times 3. Okay. 15, 45, 30. Yeah. 45, no. 45, no. I think no, because, yeah, I'm bringing out my calculator. But let's do 45 divided by 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, right. You see, I'm not about Einstein. I told you guys. Okay, yeah, so 45 is definitely divisible by 3 and 5. Yes. 60, yes, yes. Brilliant. So we are on the same page. Now, the next question. Yeah, you're right. Don't mind me, just keep my head. Yeah, it's both divisible by 5. I know 45 divided by 5 is 9. I hope I'm right. Yeah. So so you can see that it's not all numbers that are divisible by 3 that is divisible by 5, and it's not all numbers that are divisible by 5 that you can extend to 3, right? So we have numbers that are not, they are divisible by both 3 and 5, and we have numbers that will not even fall into any of this condition. So given this, right, when you think about it, what comes to your mind? Like, what Python syntax, I don't know how I can put it, what Python syntax comes to your mind when you think about this problem? What comes to your mind? What do you think you can use to solve this problem? How do you know that the number is divisible by 3? How do you really know that the number is divisible by 3? Someone is still unmuted. I'll just put this here. Conditional statements. Okay, yeah. Okay, new. If, definitely use conditional statements. Okay, brilliant. That works, straightforward. So now, how do we know what is the operator? So in Python, oh God, you people be calming down, somebody have already put the answer. Why Anyway, I wanted to ask, what's the operator that you use to check if the number is divisible by who is this person? S-born. Wait now, wait small, wait. The teacher has not even got in there. Wait. You people should wait. Calm down. Your blood is hot. You people should wait. Okay. Anyway. So, you people come and take mic from me and teach at this stage. You will collect mic from me and take the stage. Anyway, I was going to ask the operator in Python that you used to check, but some people have already put it. However, I know many people were going to say modulo, but I was watching out for another operator that was going to be mentioned. And the answer was even that particular operator was in the quiz that, the post that was on Instagram today. And I see that Miriam, put that the division operator. Maybe not you were close to it. So we won't say the division operator, but the truncation operator, which is this one. Because what the truncation operator does is that it returns the whole number without any remainder and things like that. So there are ways you can actually check, if it has a remainder that is 0 or not. So but let's use I think I'm more used to using the operator. So given that you already know that, this particular problem needs an if statement because you are making some conditions. Then the next thing you ask yourself is, the next question I asked was, what operator do I use to check? Like, think about it in mass. Okay, in mass, if I have a particular number, how do I know that this number is divisible by, I know that the remainder will be 0. So that's what makes it divisible by 3. But what is that thing in Python that can actually help me get to know that this number, when I divide it, is going to be the modulo, or the remainder will be 0. And that's where the modulo comes in. So the modulo operator, which is what people have typed here, is like a straightforward way to check, if there's no remainder. So if I do 15 modulo like 3, for instance, as I put in the chart, I'm actually checking that if I divide this, if I divide this number by 3, am I going to get a remainder that is 0? And then how do I now check if the remainder is 0? I use the if statement coupled with, an equal statement. So the double equal, for instance, is the syntax that I use to check if the left side of the left side of the equation is equal to the right side of the equation. So if I do x equals y, for instance, it means that I'm checking the value of x and the y, and I'm checking if they are the same, right? So in that case, I can just say, okay, if x modulo y, right, equals 0. So I'm going to put it in brackets so that, it makes it quite straightforward. So something like this, for instance. So I'm going to put x modulo y because I'm expecting that if that particular number is divisible, it means that it will be 0. So I'm saying if 0 is equal to 0, it means that that particular number is divisible. And then I can print what I'm supposed to print. So you can see, like with Fizzbos, I know some of us are scholars here, but if there's anyone that have not understood what I've explained, can you please just put 0 in the chat section? Like I said, just send it to me before I move on. Okay, I'm not getting anything, so I'm going to ask. So we've really done that here. So the conditional checks is that the number should be divisible by 3 or 5. And I'm also checking that if it is both divisible by 3 and 5. So the next question I'll ask now is, how do I check the 3 and 5 at the same time? There's actually an operator that we call them logical operators in Python. So there is a particular logical operator that I need to check that that number is divisible by 3. It is divisible by 5. So what operator do I use? It's a logical operator. Okay, and yeah, ampersand. Yeah, some people call it ampersand. And yes, exactly. So you can see that at the end of the day, you first break it into steps without even thinking of programming at all. And then you start thinking, okay, in my programming, what can I pull out of this collection of syntax that fits this, thing that I'm trying to solve, right? So that is really where, the logic and the syntax start marrying together. When you see a problem, don't just dive into, okay, what's the Python syntax? If you don't even know how to solve the problem, if you don't know the conditions you need to check, you don't actually know, like, okay, this is what I need to do. Yes, so the answer is and. So I'm going to do, okay, if this particular number is divisible by 3 and it is divisible by 5, then print Fizzbos. So that's the Fizzbos problem. Is very easy. We're not going to write the syntax, so this one is just an exercise to just juggle our brain and the logic muscle side of us. So this is like the flowchart. I was trying to explain what the flowchart looks like. So when you see a problem, try to actually do your flowcharts. Some people do it in pseudocode, but I would say, you can just draw things around and try to use that. So I'm checking the number. Is it divisible by 3 and 5, right? Yes. So if it is, Fizzbos, and I know the syntax for this. If it is not, okay, check, is it divisible by 3? Yes, so print Fizz. Okay. If it is not, is it divisible by 5? Yes, so I print Fuzz. But if it is not divisible by 5, no, because remember the tag says if it doesn't satisfy any of these conditions, right, we should print the number itself. So print number. And then from here, it's more like you've already written the code, but what you've just done is you've broken it down into what you call pseudocode or this is the flowchart, but there's this slow code version where you just write it like English. It looks English, it's not the code itself. And then you are translating that code or flowchart to the Python syntax. So summarizing, we are still going to do the exercise, but summarizing everything I've said, I just thought to also throw in this here that now think about it. If you don't know that there is an and, you will struggle. So if you when you get, let's say you've done the if divisible by 3, if this is divisible by 5, but you cannot check if it is divisible by both 3 and 5. You don't even know that there is an and syntax in Python. It's like saying you don't know that there is D in English, but you actually want to mention something, and there's a way you want, that thing when you are trying to say something, but you don't know the word, you don't know the English word for it. So it's the same thing when it comes to programming. You may know the logic step and all, but when you're not familiar with the syntax and all of those things, you may not know. If you don't know that modulo exists, for instance, you may be wondering, how do I actually know that a number is divisible by, that there's no remainder? Like I mentioned, you can use the truncation to check if there is a remainder and if that remainder is 0, for instance. So you don't have to use modulo. But if you know modulo, you just know that, yeah, modulo gives me the remainder. And if it is 0, it means that it is easily divisible. So like the example I gave is like knowing that you actually want to say something, but you don't know the English word. Maybe you want to say someone is tall, and you don't know that in English, how to express that is that the person is tall. Then if you've broken down these steps into logical steps, and you don't know the syntax, you will struggle with it. And I'm not here claiming that I know this. There are sometimes I still go back to documentation, or I'm asking Google, like, I already know how to achieve this, but I don't know the syntax to achieve this. And I just want to also say it at this point that it's the hardest part of becoming a sound engineer is actually breaking things down into the logic steps. The syntax is the easiest. Trust me. Syntax is like, if it's like saying, I know that somebody is tall, so I'm not daft to see somebody and not know that they are tall, right? But when I see them, I know that they are tall, and that's it. I just now need to pull out my English dictionary to express that word, like, oh, this person is tall. So it's the same thing with programming. If you just know that the person is tall, and when you see a tall person, you don't even know that they are tall, it doesn't make any it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know the tall word, but you don't know what signifies that tall word. So it's the same thing when it comes to programming. You can't know the syntax and just live with the syntax. The syntax comes into power, it comes live, like it jumps at you. It makes sense when you are not able to bring it into logic, your logic muscle, breaking problems into steps, logic steps. And like I always say, don't even think of the syntax when you're thinking of breaking into steps. Just think it as a normal thing that you would, think of, like steps to get from A to B. And then when you've broken down into steps, then you start pulling out your dictionary, your syntax dictionary, and say, okay, which syntax can I use to achieve this? What library in Python can I use to achieve it? Does Python actually have this thing? And the answer is always yes, most of the time. I don't think there's anything I've broken down into steps and then I'm not looking for the Python, the syntax that can fit that problem. And there will always be something that will fit that logic. So that's that about it. And one thing that has helped me personally and has helped a lot of people, people in the industry, is by participating in hackathons. I don't know if when at the beginning stage of my career, I think every weekend I'm always having one hackathon or the other that I go. It's not because I was good or badass or something. I wanted to learn, honestly. And because in hackathons you get to form teams, you get to meet people who have been there, they've literally been coding before you came, into the tech industry and things like that. And you can really, there's a lot that you can learn from them. You can learn how they think about problems, how they think about issues, and how they bring their programming prowess to problems. So growth, if you really want to like grow in solving problems, knowing how to look at a problem and knowing the thing that you should use for that problem, hackathons is I always like say, there are many online hackathons now, on Kaggle, even I believe in Nigeria, there are some of them that they do where you come together. You don't have to, I mean, I don't really go for, or even though, I've been to hackathons where I've won, I don't really go to hackathons because I want to learn or something. And what hackathons also does for you is that they give you a timeline. So it can be from Friday to Sunday, and you're supposed to deliver like a minimal viable product for a particular idea. It sharpens you up. If you are still doing, slow with your programming, this thing, you see how people are thinking on their feet, like doing things fast, because you have 3 days to build like a mini Facebook, for instance. So hackathons has a way of helping you grow in your skills. The second thing is reading open source. There are times that I just go to GitHub and I'm just reading people's code. Honestly, I'm just reading people's code. I'm just looking at the intelligent way somebody has written fizzballs without using if before. Yeah, news. So I just sometimes just go, I want to see how people are writing, the same problem that I've solved. How has somebody else done it? Like, and it has really helped me to see how people are so clever and learn from their skills, learn from how they have written it. In fact, when the person wrote it, that because it was a challenge that like the person was a friend that works at Google, and I knew it was very smart. And I was like, every time I do fizzballs, I actually use if. How can you do fizzballs without if statements? Right. And even at some point when I write my code when I was in my master's, even though the professors, they don't really go through your code, they just want to see your output, I run my code through him and allow him like just proofread and give me pointers to where I should improve. And that's something that I can't emphasize enough, like going through open source. If you have someone who is sound and you've done something and you want them to like give you better ways you can go about it, that's where open source goes. Because if you don't even have someone, you can look at people who have done similar things to what you have done, and this, you can see the clever ways they've actually gone about it, right? This is where, things like if you want to work at Google, they start asking you things like, okay, I have a list of numbers that are unique. Which data structure should I use, for instance? I mean, you will say list, but list is not the best way to store numbers that are unique, because list is not built for that. Set is actually built to store unique numbers, because their operation in terms of like how they are faster in like retrieving numbers. Or if they tell you like, oh, I have, numbers that are repeated and I want to know the middle number, or things like that. That is where, you start juggling your brain, thinking about. So you move from just writing code and just merging syntax, but picking the best syntax, because there are times that you have two, three different ways from the syntax that you can achieve a particular step in your, in your logic breakdown. But where you really shine is knowing the best way out of those syntax. And it comes by really working with people, reading open source projects, looking at how people have done things on GitHub and on Cargo. And like the other one, this one uh, at the beginning stage of, I don't do it any longer, but there was a time that Akara was like, I sleep, I wake up on Akara. I was solving, when I finished level 1, I moved to level 2. When I finished level 2, I moved to, and it's really helped me. One good thing with Akara is also that when you submit your code, they can now show you how others have attempted that same thing that you have attempted, and you can read their code and be like, oh, okay, maybe, and it will always improve your skills, because next time when you see that problem, you have another clever way of seeing how somebody else have done it. So you can always practice exercises on Hackarank. I highly recommend Hackarank. There's also Code Wars. Code Wars is also good. I used to use Akara and Code Wars back in those times when I was really, very hungry about improving my Python skills. And lastly is documentation. Why I put documentation as the number 4 is because the documentation really shows you all the syntax that exists in Python. So it can be overwhelming. How many syntax can you really read? Like how many things can you read in terms of like the documentation? But sometimes, you can just go to the documentation to understand, okay, what functions can I use on a list? What functions can I use on a set and things like that? The documentation is also a way to grow. And lastly is cheat sheets. And I decided to show us one. Okay, I put the link here, but hopefully I've not deleted it. I wanted to show us, please just ignore that, one cheat sheet that I downloaded. Hopefully I find it. Okay, I need to locate where it is. Please give me a minute. But I'm going to share the slides on the group, so you have access to this Python cheat sheet. And what the reason why cheat sheet exists is basically to point. It's like a summary. A cheat sheet is like something that summarizes the documentation for you in a way that you can just look at cheat sheet and just go through it quickly and know what you are looking for and know the syntax to achieve what you want to achieve. So I'm going to show you guys an example of what that looks like. If there are any questions so far, please let me know. We are still going to go to the exercise, but this is really important. You can't just go to the exercise without me mentioning some of the things here. So pardon me if it looks like I'm wasting your time, but I'm not. I'm just trying to get things. So this is an example of cheat sheets. So you can see it shows you the basics. Let's look at this one. It shows you the basic data structures that exist in Python, for instance. It goes over the Boolean and explain what it does. It goes over integer, what an integer. You can see it shows the example. Excuse me. This is string, for instance. It shows you, it tells you what is string. So it's like a way of, so this one is just for, this is one of the cheat sheets. And there's this all the other things that shows like the keywords in Python, like, okay, what is false, what is true, they are Boolean. False is equal to 1 greater than 2. So you're saying, when you say one is 1 greater than 2, that's not true, it is false. So it will return false to you. So false is equal to false, So cheat sheet is one way to also like catch up and grow. You can just look at, the cheat sheet and be able to understand, like this, for example, shows you a list and the things that you can do with a list. This is also showing you dictionary and how you can, do things in the dictionary. Like if you want to read and write elements in the dictionary, shows you example. So they are like shortcuts of documentation. There's another one I have here. Trying to find it. Sorry. Yeah, data types. So this is also another cheat sheet that shows you the data types that we have in Python, for instance. You can find this thing on Python documentation, but when you have, cheat sheets, they just shows you a summarization of what's, so sometimes it's just good. You can just download some cheats, just go through it. There's nothing wrong in like reading it. You may not need it at that moment, but at some point you may realize that, oh, I actually saw something I can do with sets, and I think, it can achieve it using this scenario that I'm using, that, I'm facing, and things like that. Okay, this one is supposed to, before we go to the, so this is like the part one. So in case you are not aware, we are going to have another of this. So this one is more of, I would say is 70% of talking, just showing you non-practical stuff, and 30% of practical stuff. But I also plan to do another workshop by August 25th, which is like end of the month. And I wanted to know what people would prefer. Although we are still going to do exercises. I have some exercises that we'll do together here, but they are not a lot. But I wanted you to just give me an answer to this question. So using the chat section, is there something? So I'm going to share for Rukayat, I'm going to share the slide in later on in the group. And I don't know if you noticed, but everything I put here, I put like the link there so you can access it yourself. Even the Akara and everything, I put the link so you can access it after the class. So this is the question I'm asking. So please just help me. Is there a particular Python library that you find really difficult to understand? I would like to like take take us through it. If I see that anybody have, maybe what, I think we'll ask this in the group. I think that's much better. But for number one, I want to give people that are here, because I just qualify people as the serious people. So I'm going to bank on what you people say. I don't want to go and put it on the group where we have over 200 people, but not all of them will show up. And I don't want to do something that we rely on people that will not show up. I hope that makes sense. But using the chat section, if there's something that you want us to do together in the next class. So when I say do together, An example could be that, oh, you want me to do a project where we are scraping a site on Google. Let's say we are doing data gathering, for instance, and we want to gather shoes, just shoes. We want to download shoes on Google, and you want us to like do the project together, like scrape project together. So just let me know in the chat section. You don't have to do it now, but just think about it during as we like, run through this class. The reason why is because sometimes one thing I found out from like the people that I sort of mentor directly is that they learn this Python syntax, but when it comes to a project, excuse me, like I told you, I have code. When it comes to a project, they don't even know how to break things down. They don't know where to start. They don't know the head of a project and the tail of a project. If they have a project to like maybe scrape job requirements, like, okay, what's the latest skills for a data analyst? They don't even know what to do, right? So that's why I'm asking if there's any project that has been on your mind and you think you want us to do together in the next class. I'd love to see it so that we can just Eniola. Yeah, I saw your message. Yes, we have exercises that although they are simple, but like I said, this class is 70% of just introduction and then 30% practical. Is the next class that we're just going to dive into building stuffs and solving more exercises. And that's why I'm asking, like, if there's any projects you think, oh, I've been thinking about this project, but I don't even know how to go about it, please put it, because there's also the aspect of having a project and being able to like break it into steps and writing the code for each steps. Time series exercise. Awesome. Okay. I actually still helped someone to fix their time series code during the course of this week. So probably can we do web scrape, maybe the current women's football, clean, analyze, and probably predict the data. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to choose, like, I'm sticking with what people want. And if I see that we can do 2 exercises in one class, fine. But at least I'm getting an idea of what people, web scraping. Okay, looks like web scraping is really what a lot of people want. Okay, that's fine. And we'll ask this on the group. If there's any Python library you're finding difficult, I would love to like go over it as well. NumPy, so I'm taking that as a Python library you find difficult. Modeling, okay. I think we can do web scraping and modeling. Pandas, okay. These are actually very straightforward libraries. But now we're going to go to practical session, and I wanted to say, they always say curiosity killed the cat, but nobody says the end of that quote, which is that, but satisfaction brought it back with 7 more lives. So feel free to ask questions. What's a Python library? So a Python library is a reusable code. What do we mean by reusable code? So I'm trying to think of a very easy example. So let's say I want to know one of, let's say, popular Python libraries like datetime, for instance. Datetime, right? And let's say every day I want to know my current dates. Like, instead of writing the code that does like give me the current date or something, like I have to like, maybe the code is like 5 lines. I can package it as a library in a way that many people can use it. So when many people want to like know what the date time, like what's today's date, for instance, they'll just install my library, and in a simple way I've provided a way for them to just access what today's date is without writing like 10 lines of code. So that's what Python library is for. Is reusable code. It's something that maybe many people need it, and instead of like people writing things from scratch again, you just build like a package for them where whenever they need that thing, they just use your library in a very simple, maybe it's just 1 line of code they will use to get that answer instead of now writing everything from scratch again. So that's what Python library does. A Python library is. So now we are going to go into today's class. Although the first exercise is quite easy, I think I underestimated most of you. Yeah, I feel like people are like beginners, like zero level beginners. But we are going to do the first 2 exercises, and then the third one we are not going to do it, but we'll just talk about the exercise, like talk about it. So I've copied this one from Code Wars. Code Wars, this is what Code Wars look like. I'm sorry, I'm for my cough. I was going to, like I mentioned, for those that joined earlier, I was going to cancel the class, but because of the code, but I just felt like let me give it a shot. So you can see it's even Andela. I never actually knew there was Andela that was powering code was okay. This is not work. To bold the text. Which text? Oh, the one. Okay, I will. So code was is like hacker rank anyway, but I actually like code was than hacker rank. I never knew it was built by Andela, so don't say it's because it's Andela people, like people that built it. I never knew, but we used to do it a lot in when I was in Andela in those days, and I also used to do Akara. But I've copied this question from Code Wars. So let me. I'm going to zoom. Don't worry. Is it better? I don't know if it's better. Okay, cool. So we need a function that can transform a number to integer. What ways of achieving this do you know? So I know some people already know this answer, but please calm down. Wait. Let me explain something so that we don't just jump right into it. So you can see they gave us an example like what our input looks like. So the input is an integer, but we want to make it a string, right? So one way of knowing if something is, to know the class that a particular variable belongs to is using the type function. I don't know if how many people know the type function. So if I do type 123, for instance, why is this thing? Okay, it's connecting. It's taking so much time. You can see that it's telling me that's an integer, right? But if I do type of this, it will tell me that it's a string. So for those that are new, if you are wondering, how do I know something is an integer? Anything that is not in a quote and is a number is an integer. I think that's the simplest way. So anything that is a number, right, and a whole number, and it is not inside this double quote or single quotes, it is an integer. That's basically what an integer is a number. The same way you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in math is a number. So if I do type 1, 2, 3, like I said, it's going to show us that like the class is an integer, and if I put it inside the quotes, so if it is in the double quote or a single quote, it's always going to be a string. Now, how do you transform a number to an integer? It comes to, thinking about your syntax. In this way, this is not something that needs a lot of logical programming, like, oh, this is an integer, how do I? Is about familiarity with the syntax, familiarity with like the cheat code, because in Python, there is a way to just make something, whatever, if you want to transfer whatever type of class you have, integer, decimal, or whatever, and you want to make it, a string, right? The function, there is a function that we use for that. So the people that know this already, can you just put it in the chat? So how do I make, if you know, so don't let me assume, if you know, what is that thing in Python that helps us move from integer to string? Where's everybody? Is it that people don't know? Integer. No, because I think somebody give us the answer. Yeah, so string is a function in Python. So this one now, it doesn't come by this is a typical example where it's not that, oh, I'm here, and then you need to, is a complex thing that you now need to, like the FizzBuzz that we did, or if a number is this, then I have to do conditional check. This one comes by your familiarity with the syntax, right? And that's why I mentioned like reading documentation, reading people's code, doing hackathons, getting yourself familiar through cheat code. So when you see a problem like this, you remember what we call typecasting. So there's something we call typecasting. And as you see earlier, I did type, I showed you like, okay, the type of, 1, 2, 3 is returned as an integer because that's integer. What does casting mean? Casting means that we have a type already, and we want to move it from, you don't get the question. Okay. So the question says that I have an integer, right? but I want to make it a string. And that's why I explained earlier, how do you know what is a string in Python, and how do you know, like, let's even leave Python. Okay, let me bring Python back to it. How do you know something is an integer in Python? When you say numbers. So that's why I said type. And one way to know the class of a particular thing is by doing type, right? Your bracket, and then typing that thing into that into that bracket. So like I mentioned, the type of number is string, is integer, sorry. And if you have anything that is in this quote, so whenever you see anything inside quotes like this quotes, it can be either this or it can be either this. So it can be double, sorry, what's wrong with my keyboard? So it can be single quotes or double quotes. When anything that is inside here is string. If I put zeros is string. As long as inside these two things, that is either this one or this one, so you can have a double quote or single quote, it is a string. And what this exercise wants us to do is to change an integer. So basically do typecasting. So typecasting means I'm changing from one type to another type. So in this case, I'm changing from integer into a string. Sorry. So I'm transforming from an integer into a string. Tommy, let me know if you are able to get the, someone that, yeah, it was Tommy. Let me know if you're able to get what I mean now. Let me know. Uh, I'm just waiting for your go ahead. You get it, awesome. So like I mentioned, anything inside this single quote or double quote in Python, it is a string. Anything that is a number and is not inside, it is, it is a number. Just like your mass, 1, 2, 3 is a number, right? Let's even do something. Let's check for decimal number. So if you have decimal number, what you see here is floats, because there's not decimal. So in Python will not call it decimal for you, but when you see floats just means it's a decimal number. So although that's not what this, we are not concerned with that for this stage, but I just wanted to share that. So we want to move from, an integer to a string. And the way to do that is to do string, pass that number into it. That's it. So I'm going to make this a variable. So I'll say, what should I call it? Let's just say val is equal to string, right? So I'm going to show you the difference right now. So I can just do, let me say val1, val, I don't know, I struggle with variable names, so you should pardon me. I don't even know what I should call this now. Val int, let's use val int. So val int is 1, 2, 3. What's the type of val int? So Tommy, I'm going to wait for you to answer this question. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. If I do type of val int, what do you think it will return? I've shown you example. So can you put it in the chat section? Int, beautiful. Yeah, scholar, exactly, because it's an integer, right? What if I do val, if I put it inside the quotes, what should it return? String, beautiful. So yeah, it's a string, right? So now let's go back to it being an integer. The type is integer, right? So it's still an integer, but we want something that we transform that integer to a string for us. So if I do val equals, like I mentioned, the function to do that is string, and I do type of, so the evidence to say that, okay, this works is, let me call it val string. If I do val string, what we are going to get is that is a string. So remember, what we have done here is what I call the typecasting. So this one now, you may, okay, how did I know? I knew because I'm familiar, I've been doing the Python thingy for a long time. So I already know. It's not like if you asked me this thing, the very first time I started learning how to program, I cannot know it, because probably in the course that I did, they did not even show me what typecasting is. They did not show me that, oh, you can actually change from integer to string or something. They didn't show me this thing. Maybe they only showed me if, else, for loop, while loop. I wouldn't know. So how I would have probably come across this is that probably I came across it in somebody's code, maybe at an hackathon. Somebody has done it in their code, and I went to look it up and see that, oh, that's what it does. Or I've gone through some cheat code, and I remember that, oh, you know, in one of these cheat code, I saw that, oh, you can actually typecast and move from integer to string. So that's basically, a simple way to look at this, is that sometimes it's not really about even your logic programming, it's about knowing the syntax as well. So if you don't know that there is a way to like move from integer to string using, this syntax that is called string. So as you see, when I highlight here, he said it creates a new string object from the given object. So the object that I've given it is 1, 2, 3. So it creates a string object, and we have validated that indeed it is a string by checking the type after we did the typecasting. So now we are going to move into something like that is more big. So this is the second question, and the second question is that you have to write a function. That function should take a URL as a string, and the function should be able to return the domain name. So who can help us with this? What comes to your mind? Like I said, don't think of this as programming something. Just think of it as, okay, how do I always know that? So this is like let's make it very interactive. When you see a URL, how do you know the domain name? So please put it in the chat section. When you see a URL, how do you know that this is actually the domain name of this? No matter how the URL may be complex, how do you know that this is actually the domain name of, inside this long URL? So let's see. Please type something in the chat. Now we are not talking coding now. I'm just saying, okay, I have github.com/carbon5. How do I know that GitHub is the domain name? Where are you people? After the HTTP. Yeah, but after the HTTP, right? I want to point your attention to something. After the HTTP, so remember that this URL now, you can see that there's HTTPS in the use case, and there's HTTP, right? And when you say after the yes, it's after the HTTP, but it's not really. GitHub is not after the HTTP, right? There's a column, there's a // remember. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. Okay, somebody say after the double slash or the www. So you cannot say www. Look at this use case. Www is not here, but let's choose the after the double slash. You can see that for any URL, right, there is always like a double slash. So after the double slash, sometimes we see the URL, right? Sometimes we do not see the URL. Like we don't what I mean we don't see the URL is like there's www dots. So what other attributes can we say, okay, this one is sure that we are going to get it if we use it this way? So think about all the use cases. So this is not programming. Just if your child comes now, maybe a 2-year-old, okay, a 2-year-old cannot know URL, but let's say a 2-year-old say, what is the definite way that I can always get, something out of this? The first domain with .com/org, it is brilliant. Yes. So one thing that is common here is that every domain name, how you know the domain name is that .com, we always look at, if you even look at this collab.research.google, if I want to know the domain name, it's actually Google, right? Because that's what has come before this .com. Although it depends on, or maybe if you want to start collab.research.google and all that, exactly before .com. So let's start with one of the simple strings. So I'll say URL equals excuse me. Okay. URL equals this, and I know that every domain is always before .com, like it's sure banker, right? So like somebody said, it could have been .org or dot something and all of that. So we will come to that complexity later, but for now let's pretend that everything is actually .com. So the next thing you now ask yourself is, how do I actually extract what is before .com? So for those of you that are already familiar with Python, right, I'm not going to mention the name of that function, but you're allowed to Google. Actually, you're allowed to Google. So what you can Google could be, what is the thing that I can use to actually divide a string by a particular um yes, I like that you're saying slice, but you remember that we slice. So let's go and check the document. Like I said, this will be very practical. Slice Python. So even me, what I do now, as we go, slice with index. So let's look at what slice is. So in this slice now, we have this, and we do slice to, I don't even like this now. I don't like this documentation. Let's look for something. I don't like how they've let's find another one. I don't like how they've done it. So let's look at this one. Okay, so this is a string. What's it now? So this is a string, right? The text is Python programming, and we do slice at 6, right? So 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So it prints Python. In our case, right? In our case, slice would have worked, assuming at every point in time we know the number that we should. So this point is that this function, it has to work for every URL that comes into the function. So in this case, slice, the reason why slice may not work is because, or will not work is because, if I want to extract Python now, I know that, okay, Python is, if I count it, I can know that, okay, this is where it's reached. So 6, the first 6 numbers, just get it for me, right? But in this case, it's not always the same, because this text, they don't have the same length. So let's use example. Let's take an example. So let me even start sometimes I don't even know okay, slice 6 and then text that. Okay, let me just copy it. No time to type too much. So let's say slice at 6 and I do URL. Sorry, URL. Let's see what it will give us. So it will pick the first 6, right? That's what it will do. But what we want to do is do zombie dash bytes. So I can see that somebody says slice with index. So are you saying that we should put maybe 6, let's say 10, right? Let's see how we can use slice to actually get. So it picks WW. I'm not getting something right. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 6 to 9. 6 to 9, we not pick it will not pick what we want to get is zombie bytes, right? So we have to actually count. You can see it didn't pick everything because it will start from 6 position and then 8, 9, So that's not what we want. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So zombie start from 11. So let's say 11. Yes, 11 to 16. Thank you. I'm not, it should only pick zombie, I think. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So there we go. Zombie by, yay, hooray, we have it. Okay, let's try it with cnet.com. Can you see? But what we want is just cents. So it's not, what's the word? It's not generalizable, if I put that word. It doesn't work for all the URL. Slice doesn't work for the URL. It's a good syntax, but for this case, assuming all our URLs, they have the same length of characters, we can stick to it's just being, that particular, we can maintain the same index. But in this case, they are not. So we need something else. So what is that something else you can use? What is that something else you can use? Does anyone have an idea? Uh, I don't know if have you people heard of I'm trying to see if I don't want to give a go, but okay, if anyone can Google, if you can Google, I have a text and I want to be able to extract regex. Beautiful, yes, you can use regex. Regex is a bit complex because even me, I don't know how to use regex like that. I don't know how to use regex like that, so I won't really go into. But yes, you can use regular expression. So regex is called. You can use our find. Okay, so I don't want to use widgets because, to be honest, widgets is not something that if I want to use widgets, I have to go and will like go through it and all of that. But let's see how our find works. So we have this text, mi casa, su casa. Funny enough, I understand Italian. So it's saying my house, your house. So is this su or their house or something? Yeah. But casa means house anyway. So what does how find does? What how find does according to this is where in the text is the last occurrence of the string casa. So because casa is repeated here, twice, we are trying to find the last place, and it's telling us like it's in this particular index. So what our find does is that we want to find the index location of a particular text. Yes, so we can't use it. So it's good that I like the fact that you're suggesting some things and it's not working. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how you learn. Because next time now, if you have a text and they say, if you see a workshop or a question that say, oh, I have a text and I want to find the last occurrence of a particular text in this. That's really how you learn. Like, that, oh, there's this function called find. I can use it to find the position of a particular text, a word in a sentence, right? So I don't want to, let me see if there's another suggestion. Is there any other suggestion? Because I don't want to, I don't want to waste our time, you know. Okay, any other suggestion? No. So, how many of y'all have heard of the function or in Python called split? What is this one? I don't know if any of us have heard of splits. It skipped your mind. That's fine. That's all right. Yes. Okay. So now that I've given you expo, how can we use splits? You have, but you forgot, Abby. This is why you need to do a lot of exercise. You have to, it's like building muscle. That's why I call this Python workouts. You are building muscle. You are building your Python vocabulary. That's the word. You are building your Python vocabulary. So when, I know that some of you may have forgotten, but for me, maybe at the early stage, I would have not even thought of split as well, because there are many things in my head, and I'm just like, which one. But now it's something that every day I write Python. Every day from morning to night, I'm doing Python. So there are some things that they are handy already, like they are at my fingertips. That vocabulary is, I'm not struggling to find the words, like speaking English. I'm not struggling as a baby, like, oh, I've forgotten that, oh, the singular of apple is apples, and I'm like trying to remember. Every day I probably say apples. I want apples, mommy. I want apples. So, but anytime I want to say I want apples, I know what it is because it's at my fingertips. Which notebook am I using? I'm using the Collab notebook. Is a notebook for, yeah, it's an online notebook by Google. Yeah. So we should split URL. Are you sure that's it? we should split URL like that. I don't know, but that's not the into list. And so how do we split now? We should just split it into list. Okay, let's try. Let's try. I will, is whatever you say I will do. So let's say splitted URL equal URL the splitter. Is this what you want me to do? I don't know. Tell me. You said we should just, all the code so far is not executing. I don't, okay. If you are using VS Code, you have to run the code, you know. But I'm going to share this. Let me see if I can share this to you. But I won't allow you to be able to edit my. Hey, I've exposed the. Mercy, sorry. I've exposed your this thing. So I'll just make you a viewer. So I'll make you a viewer so you can make a copy of my because I don't want you to touch the code. You can just use this look at. Okay, let me look at, since the var is URL, split URL. Okay, yeah, I can do that as well. So let's see, split URL, right? So let's see you can see it is not defined. It is not defined. Let's look at how split is used. Dot split. I don't want to really go into, I'm trying not to make this too overwhelming. Okay. I don't want to make this over. I wanted to explain the difference between when you're supposed to use a function directly like this and when you're supposed to call a function on a variable. But basically from documentation, you will see the example. So you can see that this example, they did not, when they wanted to split the text, they did not, let me close this one and try it. They didn't do split and then put the text inside. So that's the way for you to know how it is used, right? So, and you will see the output. It will show you that you split and then you split each of them into like, characters or something. So let's go back to what we're doing. So URL does split. I've done it. You can see that the dot split did not split anything. So how are we supposed to split? How are we supposed to split? The funny thing is that I have not done this question. If I didn't even think through it. So even me, I'm thinking through it with you people. I didn't think about it before I came here. So even me, I may make mistakes. Okay, that's fine, no problem. So you can see that we splitted. Let's try split. Okay. My oga, anything you say I go do. Anything you say I should do, I'm gonna do it. Split, Abi, you can see that it's not working. He said that no, split is not defined. It's not defined. It does not know what split. Split is not, Python does not understand what you have said. He said it's, let's run. Say, I don't know. Split is not defined. It's not a function. Let me explain. It's not a function. Yes, it's not working because split is not a function in URL that you just use directly. When you want to use split, you are using dot split. We call this kind of methods, it's even skipping my head. Is it magic methods? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I'm sorry about that. Do we call them magic methods? Inbuilt functions, right? We have different types of inbuilt functions. The one that you can call, directly this way, and the one that you can call directly this way. So the slice one, right? We can use like this slice one now is a function you use directly. If I do URL.slice, it's not going to work because that's not how the function is meant to work. Now you understand. Yeah, better. So every time you see a function you want to look at how they've used it, it will give you an example. So you can see that here they are doing dot splits on top of their, the string. They are not calling it directly. So we've split though, it's not working. People, it's not working. So what are we supposed to do? Let's keep scrolling down. Can you see that in this example, there's the splits that you can do, just splits, right? And there's the splits that you can do with a comma. So let's see what that looks like. You can see that when we split by a comma, every time that there's a comma, it takes that comma into its separate string. Okay, Miriam, yes, we'll try what you said. So every time there's a comma, it will actually put that string. So let's say this sentence now, I actually want to split it such that anytime there's a comma, it should put it in another separate string of its own. This is the method to do that, right? But in our URL, we don't have comma. What we want to get is, we just need the domain name, right? We need the domain name. So if we are splitting by what we call a separator, we call this a separator. So a separator just, I hope I'm right, I'm not teaching rubbish. Yeah, we call it a separator, yes. Every time we pass in a separator into the split, every time it gets that separator, it will cut the sentence at that, at that place. So if we remove this comma now and we run, by default, it's just going to split everything, each string inside its own, every string inside its own place, because there's no separator. But if we put a comma, I'm saying everywhere you find, a separate, you find this comma, put it into its own separate place. And that's why it is only after we find the comma, then we now put it inside, this place. So given this expo, and we know that we can split by a particular separator, looking at this place, we have split, but because there's no space or anything inside our key. So let me even show you a separate. Let's say I want to split by where there's full stop now. Can you see that everywhere there's full stop, so there's full stop here, it packs it inside a separate string. There's full stop after sent, it packs it, and then the last one here. So what do you think we can split by that can bring us closer to what we want? Even me, like I said, I've not tried this thing myself. So, but I'm asking now, what do you think we can split by? And is sure banker that's underscore? Why did you say underscore? Why did you say underscore? Tell me, explain. Auntie, tell me. Explain to us, why did you say underscore? Okay, I'm still seeing some other suggestions. We should split by slash slash. Okay, we'll try it. So let's split by slash slash. Oh, beautiful. So we are not yet there. As you can see, we are splitted by slash slash, right? But we have not gotten the domain. If I didn't even type this thing, was CNET, not sent. Sorry, what am I typing? CNET. CNET. Somebody said we should do it by .com. Okay, I'm going to try it as well. So let's split by .com. Okay, I'm just going to be trying all your suggestions. It's fine, so that you'll be seeing the outputs. And I should split by slash slash and then put the max split. Okay. So that's what we have there. I should split by white space. Okay. If I split by white space, there's no white space here. So it's going to return the same thing now. It's going to return the same thing to me. But I'm going to do what you have said I should do. Can you see? It's going to return the same thing because there's that thing that I want to split by does not exist in the URL. But we've splitted by slash slash. Yes, we are close. We splitted by .com and we are close as well. So is there anything? Can I use -1? Okay, I can use -1. That's not a problem. Slash slash w. Hey, we will split by everything today. Today is the day we are gonna split. Okay, we are there. We have done slash slash www, but remember, it's not everything that has www. So for this GitHub one, it will not work because www is not in the GitHub one. So what else can we do? What else can we do? We have split, but you know, I should split by dots. Okay. Anything my guys tell me, I will do more. Hey, hey, hey. Okay. Do we see something? Do we see something here? Can you see? Do you see what you're looking for? Someone said I should speak by dots, which I did. And it looks like we are finally close to it. Right? Okay. So let's try your formula with something else. Let's try your formula with something else. Let's see. Okay, let's start it here. Okay, let me comment this on hard because we know that slice is not it for us. So we splitted by dot. Yay, it did not work. It did not work. I wish it worked though. It did not work. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tommy. Your dots did not work. So you can see for some others, so this is where your creativity and your muscle start improves. Because then you know, so how can I reach there? How can I get to the bottom? You know, because like here now you can see if I split by dots, it puts GitHub here, but you tried it on another year and it didn't work. Okay, yes. So because of time, we are supposed to end this class like 30 minutes ago, actually. But let's see. I don't know if I should give it as an exercise. Let's see. Do you people want it as an exercise? Should I say everybody should go and try it? Is this a good? Should I say everybody should go and try it? Yes. There's still another exercise, but even this one is simple. Yeah, actually, this last one is simple. So don't let me give it as an exercise. Yes. Okay, brilliant. We are not going to do it. So we'll stop here. And I just hope like you've gotten something from this class. But this is really, like I mentioned, 6 URL.length. What do you mean, Hesbon? I don't understand. Have you tried it yourself? Whatever you, please explain it so that I don't understand what you mean. But basically, like you will see that this is just a way to juggle your muzzle, right? We didn't even start with Python, right? We started with, okay, if I want to actually get this, how do I get it right? And then some of you suggested, oh, okay, it exists before .com, like somebody said, like that's something that is common to everything. Okay, it exists, yeah, good. So I know that, okay, I have like something that is common in all my URLs that I can work with. But then how do I get to what is that thing before .com? So we talked about indexing, but indexing does not work because the indexing, it varies. The number of the characters in the URL, the length varies across all URLs. So we know that, okay, it didn't work. It cannot work. Okay, so we moved on to slice. Slice as well doesn't work because, it just shows us that, we can't just slice by, index. The characters varies. So then we started moving to split, right? I mentioned split. Split does not have to be the right answer, but I think for me, I would have just gone with split, and then I would have done like split.com, and then from split.com, I'll start looking at, okay, how can I tear this other one apart and get to where I'm going, go. So let me give 5 more minutes for, this is 8:45. So let's see, I'll try 5 minutes to try different other ideas. But okay, don't let me see. I wanted to jump to what I would have done, but I don't want to do that. I'll just try what people have said and exercise. Yeah, so URL was split by // and then I should now do URL at 1. Okay, sorry. URL at 1 is good, is showing us good vibes, but it's GitHub that we want. It's GitHub that we want. Can we use max split? Yeah, you can tell me what I should put and I'll try it. So this should give you like a clue. However, there's no perfect. I don't want you to think like I have to do it perfectly. Like, Let's use URL pass. Brilliant. Ha ha ha. So what is URL pass? But what if you are not allowed to use a module? What if you are not allowed to use a Python library? So Rukaya, this is a Python library that has been built to actually do this thing for us. We don't have to write the code. We don't have to write the code. So I've never even used URL pass. That's the funny part. But let's try it. I've never used it. I've never. Saw this on Google. Look at you people. You have gone to ask Google, quick. See all the code that is coming inside. Now, wow. Okay, from URL pass, blah, 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 print past. Let's see if it will work. But what's, you people, don't cheat. What if this module is even saying no module? So I have to install it. Okay, let me install it. Pip install URL pass. So this is how you install. It said it's not exist. Are you sure this thing is still working? You people, me, I don't know URL pass. So I don't know where people brought it from. Oh, it's because it has changed in Python 3. It's from URL lib. Okay. Oh my God, please hold on. I'm sorry about that. So this is what is brought. So some people have cheated. They've cheated though. They've gone to find library that can do it. Okay, so how do I now get the netlock is, how do I get it? Yeah, you should tell me. How? You want to cheat, Abi? Oh yeah, you want to look for library because you don't want to figure it out yourself. Okay. So how do I get the to netlock? This thing is net. So how do I get? It's you people that say I should use it. So let me be listening to you people. Nobody is talking. Okay. Oh. Like I said, we are supposed to finish 30 minutes ago. So I'm still going to do it as an exercise. Don't use library. No. Juggle your brain and try to think about how it would work. You can even this thing is still giving me github.com. See, it's not working. It's GitHub I want. It's giving me github.com. It's not working. So no, URL pass is not working. It's giving me github.com. I know maybe the way I can access this network. I've never used this before, but just looking at the structure, maybe this is how I can get it. Okay. No, that's not how I can get it. I don't even know how. Does anybody know? I've never used this module before. Okay, so I have to do .netlock, but it's giving me github.com. So of course I can do .splitby.com and then just get GitHub, but you can actually do it with this. You can do let's just do it. Let's do it. So let's use this formula. We've splitted by .com, right? But what we want is GitHub. So can we split by, by something else? So let's do TLD. Can't we break down the steps? Yes, now we can. We can. Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's what I have been expecting since. So yes. So we now split again by // Why is it? Oh, aha. Yes, this is a good challenge. So, you know, when you split, what is returned to you is a list. So I can't split by list. So I was supposed to do 0, which will give me the string itself. I'll now do the splits again by, like I said, you don't have to think of it in a perfect way, you know. How I was really banking on that. So you can see after I now splitted by slash, I got GitHub, and I can access GitHub by just doing the index one, and I get GitHub. But can we try this with, let's try it with the one that has www, because I can bet you that it won't work. I can bet you that formula won't work. What's this? It's not allowing me. Let me copy it this way. So Control C, let's bring it here. So let's put it here. So let's set the URL. So you can see that for this one, there's still www. So like I said, there's no perfect answer. What do you think I can do to make sure that I cover up in the right places? What will you do? So in this case, you want to, some of them have www, and this formula will not work because of that www. You have to do something else by splitting by maybe www or splitting by dot. So what can I do to do these checks, basically, to see the one that I have to use another formula with www. What can I do? It's actually it's very easy. I don't want to think of it as something big. So what can I do inside my function to make sure that I cover edge cases? It's very easy. Don't think of it as something that is too distant. Yeah, so there we go. Nobody wants to tell me. Loop? No, loop will not work. So remember, let me break it down for you. Right. We have two ways of going about this. Some URLs that don't have the ones that don't have www, they will work with splitting by slash slash, right? But the URLs that have www, we can only do it with, splitting it by www, right? So I'm saying, how do I know that, how do I know that www is inside this URL? What is the check for me to know? What Python syntax is used to check something, if something is true or false or true? I've even said the answer. What Python syntax? So it is if. So I can decide to check if www is inside a particular URL and say, if www is there, use this formula, use this one. It's very simple. It's very simple. So how do you check if something is inside something? This Python syntax is basically exactly conditional. So I can say if www in URL. I don't want to write it, but I can just use this simple thing. Use the Python syntax to check if something's existing. That's why I said you don't even have to think about it in code ways. It's like, okay, I want to check something. Then what's not the syntax to check something? Like in terms of Python, if I want to check if something exists, what's the syntax? So if you say if www in URL, then go about it this way, split it by www, and then I get my, domain name. Else, if it's not www, then it means that it is like this one here that does not have www, and I can split by slash slash. So I'm rushing now because of time, because I need to release them. Even me, I need to go, but that's basically how to go about it. So I will see that it takes a lot of practice and trying things, failing at it, saying that it doesn't work, trying something else, saying that it doesn't work, trying something, saying that it doesn't work, until you get to where you are going. So that's really it. Do we have any questions? Any questions? You feel worked out. Sorry. The more you do this, the better you become. And if you are, give yourself patience. So if you are in a rush to quickly solve it, you won't really maximize your skills, if I can put it that way. Like, take your time, try things. Like, we tried slicing, we tried indexing, it didn't work, and then I suggested split, and you can see that even with split, it didn't give us perfect answer, but with time we were able to get there. So it's the same thing. I don't always advise rushing to the internet to even go and ask, okay, how can I do this? Try and juggle your brain. Try and, just exercise your brain to see where you can get. If you have not tried, I always say maybe you have spent 1 hour on that small thing and you are finding it difficult to move, and then you can now get help, and then continue, and continue from where you got help from by yourself. And if you are stuck again for another hour, okay, let's try Google. Bring what Google have said. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, let's try another thing. Can you get the compilation of the class tasks to practice for that? Yeah, in the roadmap we actually have projects for Python. Don't feel bad. You guys should not feel bad. It's not this at my own beginning stage. I could not do this as well. It's constant practice. It's constant practice. Don't feel bad that you didn't get this. But I hope this has been very helpful. I'm going to stop sharing now, as I'm assuming there are no questions. I hope this has been really helpful for everyone. I hope so. I really hope so. Has this been helpful? Let me get your feedback. I actually have I want to get feedback, because it has been helpful. Okay. Thank God. Thank you. That helps me know that I've not wasted my time. That's been so awesome. Yay! I'm happy, exciting, and educative. All right, I'm glad. I was really worried and hoping. I know some people will find this as basic, but it's fine. I'm targeting people who are still finding their feet for this particular workshop. So we want more. Okay. No problem. No problem. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. I'm glad to hear that. So, okay. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. It's been That's been so awesome. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I like your teaching skills. Okay. I'm going to take it to the bank and collect money. But yeah, I'm glad this has been helpful. So if you guys think we should do a project together, I'm really happy to do that. Like, I think web scraping seems to be like something that most people, and I mean, for a data analysts, web scraping is something you should have up your sleeve. So I understand. Yeah, we can do a project. Fine, that's fine. We can. I will not even think about the project ahead of time. Me too, I'll be juggling my brain with you guys. So that's all right. So okay. So I'm going to let me send this. Yeah, in brilliant. Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm sending like a link to the group. So just please fill the survey. And I just need feedback. I know you have told me, it's good, it's fine, it's everything. Maybe you just lie because I'm here. You don't need to feel bad. But please, the survey, use it as you don't have to put in your name, is anonymous. So if you want to abuse me and say you cannot teach, you can't sit down one place, tell me, so that I will improve. So use the form to just give me anonymous feedback. It will really be helpful for next class. If there are things that you're looking forward to, you can put it in the additional comments. I'm happy to take them. But yeah, thank you for coming. This will be uploaded on YouTube, and I'll share the link afterwards. Yep. So